Hello friends, in this video we are going to solve numerical based on the first shift theorem as well as linearity property. Let us begin. As you see on the screen, there are 10 problems listed which we have to solve. We will find a Laplace transform along with their respective ROC, and we have to use only two properties here, that is a first shift theorem along with the linearity property. Yes, there are other than these properties also which we will learn in next video. Let us start with the first problem. So the first problem is e to the power 3t u of t whose Laplace transform along with the ROC we have to find. So we have already seen for e to the power at dot u of t, the Laplace transform is always 1 upon s minus a, where sigma is greater than a. Is that right? So by using this, e to the power 3t dot u of t will have a Laplace transform as 1 upon s minus 3, where sigma, that is nothing but a real part of s, should be greater than 3. Or you can write this as sigma should be greater than 3. We can show ROC like this. Sigma greater than 3, it means they are talking about a positive sigma, that is positive real part. So positive real part, that is plus 3. To show ROC which is greater than 3, we have to show this part. So this would be ROC. I hope you are finding this easy. So I'll remind you certain things which you can use as a trick. Please remember, a function multiplied with u of t, ROC would be right hand side. That is right hand side with respect to pole. Now the question can be, where is the pole? It is very simple. The coefficient of t is nothing but a pole. So coefficient of t over here, it is 3. So pole is residing at 3. So this always indicate a pole. And u of t indicates ROC towards right side. So even without solving for Laplace transform, one can get ROC directly, because it happens in the GATE question that they may not ask you the Laplace transform, but they can ask you only for ROC. Then it is very easy to identify ROC. The pole is residing at 3. So we can mark our pole 3 like this. And then since it is multiplied with u of t, ROC will be a right hand side. Therefore, it would be like this. Am I right? So these are little bit tricks which we need to study even from a GATE point of view. Of course, you should know the detailed procedure to get a Laplace transform. Along with that, you should know the detailed concept to get ROC. Let us concentrate on the next problem, that is e to the power minus 2t dot u of t. Am I right? We have already seen that e to the power minus at when multiplied with u of t has a Laplace transform as 1 upon s plus a, where ROC is sigma greater than minus a. Am I right? So comparing this with the given problem, that is e to the power minus 2t dot u of t will have Laplace as 1 upon s plus 2, where the real part of s, that is sigma, greater than minus 2. Is that right? So I have used a first shift theorem. We know that for u of t, it is 1 by s as Laplace. But when f of t is multiplied with e to the power minus at, by using first shift theorem, we replace s with s plus a. So here s is replaced with s plus 2. So to show the ROC, I am drawing this S plane. Now the question is, where is the pole? So by using trick, I can understand the pole is present at minus 2. So when I say minus 2, it would be this pole. Am I right? Now, possibly with only one pole, ROC can be to the left side of the given pole, or ROC can be towards right with respect to the given pole. Now it depends upon the function is multiplied with u of t or it is multiplied with u of minus t. Since it is multiplied with u of t, ROC will be taken at the right hand side. And in fact, we have already solved for ROC. It says sigma greater than -2 is the region of convergence. Let us show the ROC. So we have to enter this whole area, that is sigma greater than -2. We show a dent so as to make sure that our ROC doesn't include a pole. Please remember, irrespective whether you have one pole, two pole, or multiple pole, whenever you are drawing the ROC will never ever include a pole. And by observation, I'll prove it. If you observe question 3, it is nothing but question 1 plus question 2. That is summation of two functions which we have studied in question 1 and question. So third question was e to the power 3t plus e to the power minus 2t and this whole multiplied with u of t. So I can take this u of t inside and I can write this function as e to the power 3t dot u of t plus e to the power minus 2t dot u of t. And for this, we already know what is the individual Laplace transform. We have seen that if the individual Laplace transform is known for two signals, then the linear combination of two signals would be a linear combination of its respective Laplace transform. So what I mean is, let's say we have f1 function and f2 function, which are with respect to time, that is f1 of t and f2 of t. If f1 of t has Laplace as f1 of s and f2 of t is having a Laplace as f2 of s, then f1 of t and f2 of t, if they are added, then the effective Laplace is simply f1 of s plus f2 of s. Same thing it is going to happen over here. We know the Laplace transform for this, that is 1 upon s minus 3, and also we know what is the Laplace transform for this signal, that is 1 upon s plus 2. So individual Laplace transform for two different signal is known to you, and they are asking you the linear combination for these two signal. Then of course the Laplace transform will be also a linear combination of individual Laplace transform of the both signals. Let me remind you about the ROC. Let us try to get ROC using a trick. See to it, the pole is present at 3 and it is multiplied with u of t, right? If it is multiplied with u of t, it means ROC would be to the right hand side of the specified pole. Therefore, it would be sigma greater than 3, where 3 is location of pole. Here, since it is multiplied with u of t, again, sigma would be greater than the specified pole, which is minus 2. Am I right? If you remember, we have to take the effective ROC here. Effective ROC is nothing but intersection of ROC1 and ROC2. So what is meant by that? Let us try to get. So what I'll do is, I'll try to get ROC for individual functions and then I'll combine and I'll take a common ROC. So in first case, the pole is located at positive 3 and in second case, pole is located at minus 2. Am I right? Now let us have their individual ROC. In first case, sigma is greater than 3, then we have to cover the whole right hand side part which is with respect to pole present at positive 3. So we'll cover all this area for sigma greater than 3. For sigma greater than minus 2, I must show ROC like this. Since individual ROCs are known to you, if you remember, we have already learned a property. That is, let's say this is ROC R1 and this is your ROC R2. If I have to use a linearity property, effective ROC is always R1 intersection with R2. So we have to see a common area. So how do we define a common area? See, if this is sigma greater than minus 2 and this is sigma greater than 3, then we have to take only that ROC which is going to satisfy the both. Am I right? So obviously I'll select sigma greater than 3 because if I assume sigma greater than minus 2, then it is going to include positive 3 also. And we know that we are not allowed to have inclusion of pole in the ROC. Am I right? So this is something which is not allowed. So we have to go for sigma greater than 3. So this will have the common area, right? Because when I say sigma greater than minus 2, it means it is moving from minus 2 to plus infinity. And when I'm saying sigma greater than 3, it means it is starting the journey from after 3, that is 3 to positive infinity. So if you have to take the common area between two ROCs, then effectively we are going to take sigma greater than 3. Therefore, common ROC will be sigma greater than 3. We can show ROC like this. Is that right? So I'm sure you understood this, how to use a linearity property. Let us move to the next problem. So the fourth problem says it is e to the power 3t dot u of t plus e to the power minus 2t dot u of t plus e to the power minus 5t u of t. In fact, it is plus 5 over here. So let us take individual Laplace transform first along with their ROC. So for this, we have Laplace transform as 1 upon s minus 3. The pole is present at 3 multiplied with u of t means sigma greater than 3 is the ROC. For this, a Laplace transform is 1 upon s plus 2. The pole is present at minus 2 and it is multiplied with u of t, then sigma will always have a greater relation with respect to the pole, which is minus 2. And here the Laplace transform is 1 upon s minus 5, where sigma will again have a greater relation with respect to the pole, and pole is present at positive 5. So try to understand that this is moving from 3 to infinity, this is moving from minus 2 to plus infinity, and this is moving from positive 5 to infinity. Now try to get the common area. The common area can be 5 to infinity. Am I right? Because if I take this 3 to infinity, then it is going to include positive 5 in the ROC, and we know that we are not allowed to use pole within ROC. Am I right? ROC should never ever include a pole. Since at these three individual signals we have a positive sign, even after taking the Laplace, you get the same relation. Am I right? Then this is your final f of s, and the common ROC is sigma greater than 5. So roughly I can show you like this. See, we had 3 poles here. One pole present at positive 3, one pole present at minus 2, and the last pole present at positive 5. Now the question is, where is the ROC? ROC is after 5. So this is your common ROC. I hope things are clear. So with question 3 and question 4, I'm going to have a common conclusion. See to it very carefully. First of all, notice that each and every function over here is multiplied with u of t. Still, the problems that we have seen, we have not multiplied with u of minus t. Fine. In previous video lecture, we have seen what is the effect of multiplying with u of minus t. ROC becomes the left hand side with respect to the given pole. So whenever you are multiplying with u of t, then it makes sure that your signal is a right-handed signal. I repeat, whenever you multiply any function with u of t, it makes sure that the resulting function is a right-handed function. So any signal when it is a right-handed, that is, it is 0 for t less than 0, then it is known as a causal function. So first of all, I would declare that question number 4 is a causal function. So I would say it is a causal function. In fact, I would say that each and every function over here, that is, I would say this is function 1, this is function 2, and this is function 3. So function 1, function 2, function 3 are individually causal function. Please remember, anything which is simply multiplied with u of t is a causal function. So I would say the first one is causal, second one is also causal, and third one is also a causal. So when it is a linear combination of all causal signals together, then the ROC will be present at right hand side to the right of rightmost pole. I repeat, in that case ROC is present at to the rightmost pole. As you could see, we had 3 poles. One is present at minus 2, the other one is present at 3, and the remaining one present at 5. And the given function is a causal function or a linear combination of the causal signal. In that case, the ROC is present to the rightmost pole. So as you can see, your ROC is present to the right hand side to the rightmost pole. So here 5 is considered to be the rightmost pole. So we are having ROC to the rightmost side. And also we will observe the same thing in question 3. Look at question 3. We had two poles, one present at 3, the other one present at -2. So as you could see, we had two poles, one is -2, the other one present at +3. Again, since individual functions present over here are causal one, am I right? So I would say this is causal and this is also causal. Therefore, the given function is a causal one. Since the given function is causal and whenever we are having multiple poles, then ROC is always present to the right hand side. See, it was decided that it would be present at right hand side because the functions are multiplied with u of t. Am I right? So you have to only remember that the ROC is present to the right hand side to the rightmost pole with respect to the rightmost pole. So with -2 and +3, which is the rightmost pole? Of course, it is +3. Then the ROC should be taken to the right hand side of the rightmost pole. So I'm sure you have understood and you have come to a particular conclusion. Let's move to the next question. So next question is e to the power 3t is now multiplied with u of -t. So let me tell you, the standard one is e to the power at when multiplied with u of -t. The Laplace transform for this is minus of 1 upon s minus a, where sigma would be lesser than a. So this was our standard Laplace transform along with the ROC. Let us compare with the given one. E to the power 3t, it is multiplied with u of -t. Then it will have a Laplace transform as minus of 1 upon s minus 3, where sigma is less than +3. We know that whenever a function is multiplied with u of -t, this negative sign always appear over here. Am I right? Secondly, whenever a function is multiplied with u of -t, then the ROC is always present to the left hand side with respect to the pole. Here, the value of pole is 3. So this 3 is your pole now. Am I right? Let us try to have the ROC for this. So as you can see here, the pole is present at 3. You can also calculate the pole by equating denominator to 0. So whenever you equate denominator to 0, then you get the value of s to be +3. In that case, my ROC would be to the left of +3. So this would be your ROC, that is sigma lesser than 3. The lesser has come because it is multiplied with u of -t. Please remember, whenever the function is multiplied with u of t, then sigma will have a greater relation. Whenever it is multiplied with u of -t, then sigma will have a lesser relation. And it is always with respect to the pole. And you know how to identify the pole. So here, since a is a pole, with respect to the given function, 3 is a pole. Am I right? So here I can write as the observation part, ROC is present to the left side with respect to the pole. And even in this case, ROC never ever include a pole. Am I right? Secondly, you know that whenever a function is multiplied with u of t, then the given function graphically becomes a right-handed function. The function which is 0 for left-hand side or which is 0 for t less than 0. Such function is known to be a causal function. Am I right? Now, here, whenever a function gets multiplied with u of -t, a function becomes a left-handed function. I repeat, whenever a function multiplied with u of -t instead of u of t, now it is multiplied with u of -t, then the function becomes a purely left-handed function. It makes sure that for all positive values of t, it is always 0. You know that right-handed function is always a causal function, but a left-handed function, that is a purely left-handed function, is known to be anti-causal function. Then this is called as anti-causal function. Please remember, for anti-causal function, we say that f of t is always 0 when t greater than 0. This is known as anti-causal function. It makes sure that for all positive value of t, f of t is sure shot 0. F of t is purely left-handed signal. Am I right? So please remember, a function multiplied with u of t is a causal function. The causal function is defined as if f of t is equal to 0 for t less than 0. So when t less than 0, f of t equal to 0, it makes sure that your f of t is purely right hand side. And whenever we are talking about anti-causal function, f of t is purely a left hand sided function. That is, it is 0 for right hand side. Let us start with the next question, that is e to the power minus 2t u of minus t. So we know that for e to the power minus 2t, it would be 1 upon s plus 2 as a Laplace transform. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, we will have a negative sign over here. Secondly, when I'm talking about ROC, it would be sigma, which is related with the pole, that is minus 2. So pole is at minus 2. Secondly, since it is multiplied with u of minus t, sigma will always have a lesser relation with respect to pole. So sigma would be lesser than minus 2, and this is what we call as ROC. Am I right? So this is your f of s, and this is your ROC. And now if I want to show the ROC, it is very simple to show. See, now see where the pole is present. Pole is present at minus 2, and it is present to the left hand side as ROC. Let us move to the next question. Question number 7, and it was e to the power 3t u of minus t plus e to the power minus 2t dot u of minus t. So before I proceed with the next question, for question 6 also I can say it is anti-causal function. Reason, it is multiplied with u of minus t. So please remember, function multiplied with u of t is a right-handed signal. It is a causal signal or a causal function, and whenever a function is multiplied with u of minus t, then it is a left-handed function or also called as anti-causal function. So I would declare the function which is given in question number 6 is anti-causal. What about over here? This is also anti-causal. This is also anti-causal. And of course, the linear combination of anti-causal signals together will be always anti-causal only. Let us solve the problem. So let us use a trick now directly. The Laplace transform for e to the power 3t is 1 upon s minus 3. We know very well. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, a negative sign will appear here, right? Now let's talk about the next. E to the power minus 2t will have Laplace transform as 1 upon s plus 2. Secondly, since it is also multiplied with u of minus t, which will also have a negative sign over here. Am I right? Since the Laplace transform is a linear combination as that of the mentioned in time domain, it would be summation of two together. Am I right? Now let us see their respective ROCs. So ROC is always related with the pole, or it is bounded by the pole. Now for the first function, where is the pole? Pole is present at 3. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, sigma will always have a lesser relation. So sigma lesser than positive 3, and here sigma lesser than minus 2, because minus 2 is the location where the pole is present over here. So there are two ROCs now, but we know that we have to use a linearity property, and we have to use the intersection between the two. That is, we have to select the common area. Try to understand. When I say sigma lesser than 3, then it is covering the area from minus infinity to 3. Am I right? And when I say sigma lesser than minus 2, then it is covering the area from minus infinity to minus 2. So you have to select the appropriate sigma duration so that we get a common area, that is intersection between R1 and R2, where R1 is ROC for this and ROC for this is R2. So R1 intersection R2, whenever you have to get a common area cannot be minus infinity to plus 3, because if I take this as a common area, then even a minus 2 pole will come in picture. So we have to take this as common area, that is from minus infinity to minus 2. So common ROC is sigma less than minus 2. Let's draw its ROC structure. See, again we had two poles over here. One is present at positive 3, the one which is present at minus 2. So one is present at 3, the other one present at minus 2. Am I right? And the common ROC is the left hand side part of minus 2. So I can draw my ROCs like this. Am I right? So let me conclude for anticausal the way I have concluded for a causal function. So in anticausal function, how do we identify it is anticausal? Because individually it is anticausal, and linear combination of anticausal results in anticausal only. Am I right? Because imagine graphically we have some left-handed signal. I mean a signal which is 0 at right hand side. Imagine the other signal which is also a left-handed signal, and right hand side is completely 0. Imagine if these two signals are added, I'll get a third signal, where a third signal will be naturally the left-handed signal. Am I right? Therefore, the linear combination of anticausal function results into anticausal function only. I hope you got my point. So in anticausal function, whenever we are having multiple poles, okay, in that case, we have to consider ROC towards the left of leftmost pole. I repeat, we have to select ROC to the left of leftmost pole, meaning that when I'm talking about two poles, that is minus 2 and 3, which one is the leftmost pole? So leftmost pole is minus 2, then we have to take the ROC to the left hand side of the leftmost pole. Therefore, sigma less than minus 2 is the common ROC. Whereas in causal functions, we have learned that whenever we have multiple poles, then we have to select the rightmost pole, and we have to take the ROC which will cover the area which is up to positive infinity from the rightmost pole. Let us move to the next one. So the eighth problem is e to the power 3t u of minus t plus e to the power minus 2t u of minus t plus e to the power 5t u of minus t. So we know that whenever a function multiplied with u of minus t, by default a negative sign comes when you take a Laplace transform. It is 1 upon s minus 3 for e to the power 3t. Then for this, again it would be negative of 1 upon s plus 2, that is e to the power minus 2t will have Laplace as 1 upon s plus 2. And for the third function also will get negative, because again it is multiplied with u of minus t, it would be 1 upon s minus 5. Now let's talk about their individual ROCs. So here the value of pole is 3, so sigma will have some relation with respect to 3. Secondly, since it is multiplied with u of minus t, it is anticausal function. It means sigma will always have the lesser relation, so sigma will be less than 3 is the ROC. Similarly here, sigma will be lesser than minus 2, and here I can say sigma less than positive 5, because pole is present at 5, and since it is multiplied with u of minus t, sigma will always have the lesser relation. Am I right? So try to get the common ROC out of them. So let us plot the poles first. The one pole is present at positive 3, the other pole present at positive 5, and one more pole is there which is present at minus 2. Am I right? So by observation, each and every function stated over here is anticausal function, and the linear combination of all anticausal functions together will result in finally anticausal function. So the whole function would be considered as a single function which would be anticausal. And for anticausal function, we take the ROC to the left hand side of the leftmost pole. I repeat, for a anticausal function, whenever we are having multiple poles, we see to it, we take a leftmost pole and we mark the ROC to the left hand side of the leftmost pole. In this case, the leftmost pole is minus 2. So we have to take this ROC. Am I right? So common ROC is sigma less than minus 2. So before we move to the next problem, I'll take one more problem over here which wasn't listed in the PPT. So as you can see here, it is combination of u of t and u of minus t together. As we have seen in the last problems, the questions either had u of t or questions either had u of minus t. So when it is having only u of t, it is a right-handed signal considered to be a causal function. And whenever we have a combination of u of t and u of minus t together, it means u of t claims it is right-handed function, u of minus t indicates it is a left-handed function. Imagine there are two signals, one of it which is a right-handed signal, one of that it is left-handed signal. And what if these two signals are added? Then we will get a signal which is present at left hand side also and at right hand side also. In that case, a signal becomes a both-sided function. Am I right? A signal is a both-sided signal. In that case, such function said to be a non-causal function. I repeat, this is a non-causal function. Let us see individually what are they. Since the first term here, the first function e to the power of 5t is multiplied with u of minus t, it is completely left-handed signal or a left-handed function. This is anti-causal. And here it is multiplied with u of t, definitely this is causal. We know that a causal covers a right part and anti-causal covers a left part. So imagine we are covering right part also and left part also, then in effect it becomes a both-sided function. And both-sided function is neither called as causal nor it can be anti-causal. You have to take causal and anti-causal together, it becomes non-causal. So let us see how do we go about it. Now for a first term which is e to the power 5t u of minus t, its Laplace is 1 upon s minus 5. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, we'll have a negative sign here. Then let us see its ROC sigma would be related with positive 5 because positive 5 is the location of pole. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, then sigma will have a lesser relation with respect to pole. Sigma less than 5 is the ROC. For second, it is multiplied with u of t, so it will be positive of 1 upon s plus 2. And let's talk about ROC. Sigma will have relation with pole and pole is located at minus 2. Since it is multiplied with u of t, sigma will have a greater relation. So first ROC I would consider as R1. The second ROC I would consider as R2. And you know that effective ROC is intersection of R1 and R2 together. So we will have the intersection of R1 and R2 together so as to get effective ROC. So we'll try to see the common area. First of all, I'm going to draw their individual ROCs. So only I'm concentrating on a very first term. So pole location is present at positive 5 and the ROC covered is left hand side part. So this would be ROC for the first function. For second function, it is saying it is right handed side ROC which is greater than minus 2. So minus 2 is a pole location. Sigma greater than minus 2, then it is going to cover the whole right hand side area with respect to minus 2 pole. So two individual ROCs are now shown to you. It says or it covers the area from minus infinity to 5 and this is going to cover the area from minus 2 to plus infinity. Now see to these two area and we have to take the common area. See, one of the area from minus infinity to positive 5, the other area is covered from minus 2 to positive infinity. Then of course the common area will be from the area which is lying between minus 2 to positive 5. I repeat, the common area would be here is the area that is lying between minus 2 to plus 5. Therefore, I would say common ROC is nothing but a common area which will lie between minus 2 to plus 5. Therefore, our ROC will lie between minus 2 to plus 5. I can show it graphically. So there were two poles, one present at minus 2 the other one present at positive 5. So if you remember, for minus 2, ROC is present to the right hand side. For positive 5, ROC was present to the left hand side. To satisfy both, we have to take the area between minus 2 to positive 5. So in this case, how you are going to describe your ROC? Is it right-handed side or left-handed side? Then answer is none of them. ROC is a both-sided. So whenever you have a non-causal signal or a non-causal function, ROC is always both-sided. And please remember that whenever you have multiple functions together and when you have individual ROCs, you have to take a common ROC. You must get common ROC, because if you don't get common ROC, it means I would say that the Laplace transform for the given function does not exist. I hope you got my point. If you have a common area, then only you will have a common ROC. Only if you have a common ROC, then only I would say that the f of s that you have obtained is the correct f of s or the valid f of s. So validity of f of s comes along with the valid ROC. Let us move to the next question. So question number 8 was e to the power minus t u of t plus e to the power 5t u of t. So we have to make a little bit change over here. So the only difference I made is substituting this as u of minus t for some reason, because if it would have been u of t, then there is no question to discuss this because we have already solved such kind of problem. So this is something else now we are going to look after. See, pay attention. For e to the power minus t, it would be 1 upon s plus 1 as Laplace transform. Try to understand, since it is multiplied with u of minus t, a negative sign will appear here. Secondly, for e to the power 5t, it would be 1 upon s minus 5, and it will remain as positive since it is multiplied with u of t. Now let's talk about their ROC. Now for this, ROC would be related to minus 1 because minus 1 is the location of pole. Since u of minus t is multiplied, it would be having lesser relation. Secondly, here sigma would be greater than 5 because 5 is the location of pole, and since it is multiplied with u of t, sigma will have a greater relation with respect to pole. So try to get, when I'm saying sigma less than minus 1, then I can have my ROC structure like this. See, minus 1, it means the left hand side part of minus 1. And when I'm saying greater than positive 5, it means the positive 5 pole present over here, and its ROC would be like this. Now try to get the area covered by individual ROC. As you can see, it is covering the area from minus infinity to minus 1. And here, you are covering the area from 5 to positive infinity. Now please try to understand. If you try to take the intersection between two ROC, that is, let us assume this is R1 and this is R2, then you will find that there is absolutely no common area. Please try to understand. In first case, we are covering from minus infinity to minus 1. In second area, we are covering from positive 5 to positive infinity. There is absolutely no common area. If there is no common area, it means there is no common ROC. If there is no common ROC, it means Laplace transform for the given function cannot be calculated. F of s does not exist for the given function if there is no common ROC. I hope you got my statement. Since no common area, there is no common ROC. If there is no common ROC, it means Laplace transform for the given function does not exist. So I hope you got my point. So it is mandatory that you must have common ROC. If there is ROC present for a function, then only its f of s is valid. So whatever f of s that you have calculated over here, it is invalid. It does not exist in fact. Rather than blindly following the formula and to get f of s, you should make sure that ROCs should be valid one. So here x of t is equal to 1 for all time. This is how you should read this, for all. Symbol says it is for all. So for all time, x of t is 1. So it is throughout constant. So you can imagine your x of t, which is throughout constant, it is 1. What I'm actually trying to do is I'm trying to plot my x of t the way it has described. Since it is 1 for all time, I need to get some expression of x of t in terms of a standard signal. You can notice this. Actually, this part is your u of t, and this part is your inverted time version of u of t, that is u of minus t. What does that mean? I can say that 1 for all time is the summation of u of t and u of minus t together. So now I can say x of t is equal to 1 for all time. You can replace this with u of t plus u of minus t. I hope you understood my point. So for u of t, you know that Laplace transform is 1 by s, where sigma is greater than 0 is the ROC. Here, u of minus t means Laplace is minus 1 upon s with sigma less than 0. Am I right? And again, I'll impose the same theory here. When I'm saying u of t, its Laplace is just 1 by s. So where pole is present? Pole is present at origin. Therefore, I'm relating my sigma with respect to 0, because sigma is always related with pole, because ROC is always bounded by poles. In next case also, as you can see, for second function, it is 1 by s. It means pole is present at s. So sigma is again related with 0. And since it is u of minus t, sigma will have a lesser relation. So now sigma greater than 0 and sigma less than 0, one can easily say that there is no common ROC, because the first ROC says it is greater than 0, the other one says it is less than 0. Of course, there is no common ROC. If there is no common ROC, it means Laplace transform for the given function does not exist. I repeat, Laplace transform for the given function does not exist. So Laplace transform of 1 does not exist. So when I was actually teaching this in my class, one of the students asked me that, sir, in mathematics we have already learned that Laplace transform of 1 is 1 by s, and what you are saying here, the Laplace transform of 1 does not exist. So this is quite a contradictory statement you are making. So now it is eventually proved that Laplace transform 1 does not exist, as you can see. Then what was in the mathematics that you have learned was Laplace transform of 1 you always use as 1 by s. Then let me remind you, in the mathematics when you use a Laplace transform, you don't go for a bilateral Laplace transform, you go for a unidirectional Laplace transform. What is meant by that? I'll tell you. The formula that you have learned in mathematics was like this, that is f of s integrating from 0 to infinity f of t e to the power minus st dt. And the one that we have learned is not this, but it is from minus infinity to infinity f of t e to the power minus st dt. Am I right? So this is what we called as a bilateral. Bilateral because we are covering both the sides, that is a left hand side part and right hand side part. And the one which you have learned in mathematics was a unilateral Laplace transform. See, when I say it is unilateral, it means every function that you consider in your mathematics subject is always a right-handed signal. I repeat, it is always a right-handed signal. So whenever in the mathematics when you learn a Laplace transform of 1, by default this one is a right-handed signal. So please understand, whenever you say a right-handed 1, it means it is by default this signal and not this signal. So whenever it is this signal, it is actually u of t. So indirectly, your Laplace transform of 1 is nothing but a Laplace transform for u of t, which is by default 1 by s. So I'm sure now this query shouldn't be there. And it is almost clear that x of t, when it is 1 for all time, Laplace transform does not exist. So now we are moving to our last problem. Then we'll conclude this video. So last question says it is signum of t. So let me draw the signum function. So you know that a signum function is positive 1 for t greater than 0 and it is -1 for t less than 0. So graphically I can show it like this. So +1 to the right hand side, -1 to the left hand side. This is how your signum function looks like. So even here I can express my signum function in terms of step signals. See how by observation I understand this is your u of t. By observation I understand that this is minus of u of minus t. I hope you understood this is minus of u of minus t. Since there is negative over here, we have -1 amplitude here. Since there is minus t, then it is time inversion that is present at left hand side. So signum of t is combination of these two signals. Finally I can write signum of t is u of t minus of u of minus t. I hope you got the point. So if you want a Laplace transform of signum of t, then this is equal to Laplace transform of u of t minus of u of minus t. Or I would say it is simply Laplace transform of u of t minus of Laplace transform of u of minus t. So now individually for u of t it is simply 1 by s, where sigma greater than 0 is the ROC. Then we have negative sign here. Let us copy this. For u of minus t we have minus of 1 upon s, where sigma less than 0. Let us see whether the given Laplace transform is valid or not. And how do we see that? We see to it we get a common ROC. So even in this case we are not going to get a common ROC, because the first one says ROC is sigma greater than 0. In second ROC we see that it says sigma less than 0. So there is absolutely no common area. No common area means no common ROC. If no common ROC means Laplace transform does not exist for signum function. So we have solved all the problems. Only extra thing that I want to discuss with you. On conclusion side, I can write this as Laplace transform of 1 does not exist. But if you remember, Fourier transform for 1 does exist, and it is 2 pi del of omega. So now this is something that you should connect and you should know. Even though Laplace transform for 1 does not exist, a Fourier transform can very well take care of it, because we have started the Laplace transform on the grounds that a Fourier transform has got some limitation, and therefore we move to Laplace transform. But there are few signals for which even though a Laplace transform does not exist, that care is taken by a Fourier transform. So you shouldn't even underestimate Fourier transform. And second such example I can give you, we have just seen that Laplace transform for a signum function does not exist. But even though we had a Fourier transform for signum of t, and it was 2 upon j omega. So there are many functions for which, especially when I'm talking about unbounded signals, we know that a Fourier transform does not exist, whose care will be taken by Laplace by the concept of convergent factor, that is e to the power minus sigma t, and we had the provision of varying the sigma, and those set of sigma for which we get f of s, that is a Laplace transform, to be finite. That's what we define as a region of convergence. So with the help of the weapon of region of convergence, we can take care of those unbounded signals which are not taken care by a Fourier transform. But still there are few signals not listed over here, but more than that, for which a Laplace transform does not exist, whose Fourier transform can be taken, and we can very well see for those signals what are their frequency components. Thank you.